Welcome back to our channel. Today we're diving into a story about love, secrets, and the difficult truths that can hide in plain sight. It's a story about David and Laura, a couple who seemed to have it all, but whose foundation was built on something far more fragile than anyone knew. David was a man who believed in grand gestures. For him, love wasn't just a feeling, it was an action. He met Laura in college, and from that moment on, his world revolved around her. He wasn't just in love, he was dedicated. He worked tirelessly, not just to build a comfortable life, but to build a world where Laura would never have to worry about a thing. He remembered every anniversary, every small preference, every whispered dream she had. He gave her his heart, not as a poetic phrase, but as a daily commitment. He trusted her completely, believing their bond was the one constant in an ever-changing world. Their friends looked at them as the ideal couple, a benchmark for what a loving partnership should be. David felt secure, content, and deeply, profoundly in love. He thought their life was a perfect picture, unaware that a crucial piece was missing, hidden away by the very person he adored. Laura, on the other hand, carried a weight that David knew nothing about. She loved him, or at least, she loved the stability and kindness he provided. But there was a restlessness in her, a part of her that felt unseen. While David was busy building their future, Laura felt like she was just a character in his perfect story, not a co-author. This feeling of being on the sidelines led her down a path she never imagined. It started with small lies, little omissions about where she'd been or who she'd been talking to. She started reconnecting with an old flame from her past, a man named Mark, who represented everything David wasn't. Spontaneous, a little dangerous, and most importantly, someone who saw her, not the life they were building. The secret texts became secret phone calls, and soon, secret meetings. Each deception was a small chip in the foundation of her marriage, but she convinced herself it was harmless. She told herself it was something she needed just for her, a small escape from a life that, while perfect on the outside, felt suffocating on the inside. She was living a double life, balancing the loving wife persona with a secret identity that was slowly consuming her. The first crack in their perfect facade appeared unexpectedly. It was a Saturday morning and David was planning a surprise weekend getaway. He grabbed Laura's laptop to book the hotel, something he'd done 100 times before. But this time, an email notification popped up on the screen. The sender was Mark, and the subject line was simply, "Last night." David's heart froze. His first instinct was denial. It had to be a mistake, a misunderstanding. He clicked it open, his hands trembling. The email was short, but its contents were devastating. It spoke of shared moments, inside jokes, and a longing for their next meeting. It was intimate, familiar, and undeniably real. A wave of cold dread washed over David. The perfect picture he had of his life shattered into a million pieces. He closed the laptop, the soft click echoing in the silent room like a gunshot. He didn't confront her right away. How could he? He needed to understand. He started paying closer attention, not as a loving husband, but as a detective in his own home. He noticed the late-night texts she tried to hide, the vague excuses for being late, the way her phone was always face down. Each new discovery was another nail in the coffin of the life he thought he had. The weight of his discovery was crushing. David became a ghost in his own home. He was physically present, but his mind was miles away, replaying every moment, searching for clues he'd missed. The laughter in their home was replaced by a heavy silence. Laura noticed the change, of course. She saw the distance in his eyes and the forced smiles. She asked him what was wrong, her voice filled with a concern that now sounded hollow and insincere to David. He would just shake his head and say he was tired from work, unable to voice the accusation that was screaming inside his head. He felt trapped in a nightmare. He loved the woman she was, or the woman he thought she was, but he couldn't ignore the evidence of her betrayal. This internal conflict was tearing him apart. He lost weight, sleep became a luxury, and the joy he once found in life was gone, replaced by a constant, gnawing pain. He was mourning a marriage that was still technically alive. The breaking point came a few weeks later, on their anniversary. David had made a reservation at their favorite restaurant, the same one where he had proposed. He was hoping, desperately, for a sign that he was wrong, for a moment of connection that would make all his doubts disappear. Throughout dinner, Laura was distracted, constantly checking her phone under the table. The final straw was when she excused herself to take a call. David, fueled by a mix of heartbreak and a need for the truth, followed her outside. He stood just out of sight, listening as she whispered into the phone. "I miss you too," she said, her voice soft. "I wish I was with you right now. I'll see you tomorrow." Every word was a dagger to David's heart. The last glimmer of hope he'd been clinging to was extinguished. He walked back to the table, his face a mask of calm composure that hid the storm raging within. When Laura returned, smiling and apologizing for the interruption, David looked at her, truly looked at her, and saw a stranger. He placed his napkin on the table, stood up, and said 4 simple words. "I know about Mark." The confession was a floodgate opening. Laura's face crumpled, the carefully constructed lies falling away to reveal the raw, messy truth. She cried, she apologized, she made excuses. She talked about feeling lonely, about not feeling seen, about the mistakes she'd made. But for David, the words were just noise. The trust, the very bedrock of their relationship, was gone. There was no going back. In the days that followed, they had the painful, practical conversations about separating, dividing their assets, their home, their lives. It was a cold, clinical process that felt surreal. David moved out, leaving behind the home he had built with so much love and hope. The pain was immense, but with it came a strange sense of clarity. He had given her his entire heart, and she had traded it for secrets. But in losing everything, he realized he had a chance to find himself again, to rebuild his life not for someone else, but for himself. The road ahead would be long and difficult, but for the first time in months, he could see a future, one that was his own. This story is a powerful reminder that honesty and communication are the true foundations of any relationship. Secrets, no matter how well hidden, have a way of coming to light, and the fallout can be devastating. For anyone who has experienced a similar heartbreak, know that healing is possible. It takes time, it takes courage, and it takes rediscovering your own worth. Your story doesn't end with the pain. It begins with the strength you find to move forward. Thank you for listening. If this story resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe for more content. Take care of yourselves and each other.